I don't think you, listener, I don't think you're ready for this episode. Are we doing hot seat coaching right now? Yes, we are. But I am joined by my amazingly wicked, talented friend, brand extraordinaire, life evolutionist. I mean, she totally has broken my brain when it's come to my business personally. I'm excited to share her with you, but I'm also excited to help pour into Becky and her business. So please welcome Becky from Hey Bex Designs. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Kels?
I'm good. I before we hit record, I told Becky I was like I needed to step up my game today. So if you're watching the audio or the visual version, I'm wearing the signature jacket. I am wearing one of my new brand color lips, and Becky is wearing pageant winner one of my purples. That's part of my brand kit. So we're
I mean,
on brand.
this is what broken brain looks like,
Hmm.
and that's not terrible. This
It's not
looks
terrible.
amazing. Yeah,
It's not terrible.
this
I
looks
need to bring the people up to speed because if
yeah.
you're not excessively stalking the internet, you may not know this, but I actually had talked to Becky about being on the podcast for hot seat coaching specifically for a while. And
Mhm.
since deciding to have her on, I also hired her to redo my branding. So this episode's really special in the sense that my branding is getting rolled out, which is so cool, but also Becky has built her business and is still building and scaling her business. So there's like multiple reasons that we're here having this conversation today. And I just wanted you to all know that context because I think it'll really factor into how we have this conversation moving forward. I mean, Becky, any thoughts, any things, any little tidbits you want to add in there?
Well, I mean, working on your branding has been an absolute blast. I cannot wait for the people to see it. But I mean, I think that leads to the bigger picture of, I feel very aligned with what it is that I'm doing in branding. I have a docket full of dream clients right now, and I only launched about 2 months ago. And I guess, I think what the listeners might want to hear is like, on the surface, maybe when you look, it looks like I'm killing it on all measures, but I still actually though, like I have worries, I have insecurities, I have, and I still need coaching and mentoring. And to be honest, for the first time in my life, I'm really kind of ready to ask for that type of help. In the past, I've always just handled everything on my own. And so no, I think it's super cool that we get to be here and chat about it. And I do think that the duality of success and learning is interesting and true for all of us. We can experience both at the exact same time.
Yeah. I underline, highlight what Becky just said. And I think it's just important to continue to have this conversation. And I also think it's a great reminder none of us know what the heck we're doing. Like you mess around, you try stuff, it fails, it flops, that works. You pay attention, you try to replicate it, and then you get to this next level. And so if you're doing entrepreneurship right, you're constantly growing, which means you're learning. So even though it's Becky's business, saying it out loud, I feel like it's been out loud for what, 2 whole months.
Yeah.
You have signed clients. That's a big win. So I just want to pause and be like, good job. Like that's amazing to kick it off and start off in that way.
I feel very, very, very lucky how it all worked out. I didn't really expect it. I opened with a wait list, and I'm signing new contracts, and I have people that I'm still chatting with about bringing on. And so, yeah, no, it's been a really big, for me, I think a really big success in the launch of it. Um, and I'm also lucky that my first couple of clients have helped me kind of co-create the experience like you. But I have a couple clients that are helping me say like, I love this part. And what if we did this? And that's very, very helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's jump into the
Yeah.
episode just to lay the groundwork a bit. If someone stumbles across the internet, they find this podcast episode, they have no clue who you are. How do you
Mhm.
give the quick intro of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Becky LaFranchi. I'm a brand experience designer, and I have been in interior design, branding, visual merchandising, graphic design for well over 20 years. My claim to fame, I suppose, professionally, is that I worked in kind of C-suite position for IKEA for about 8 years. I ran the communication and interior design department for that company, and was able to travel all over the world and really learn about how business leaders perform, about concepts, about design, obviously. Uh, and then when I left there and moved back home here to Seattle, I'm lucky enough to have quite a few entrepreneurs in my family, and I helped them brand and launch their businesses and rebrand their businesses and design the interiors of their business. And I painted murals, and I was just kind of doing it for free and for fun. And this last year, I really just felt so called to do it even more and to really just pour. As I get older, I want to spend my life doing exactly what I love doing. And I want to really lean into that creative side and help people find their big brand energy. I'm very, very passionate about small business. And I do think that small business owners can treat their business and their brand like a big major corporation, but with that small town, small business connection and vibe and goal setting and drive and all that wickedness.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's important to start there. So if you're listening to this episode, it's important to understand Becky's business, because as we get into kind of the coaching side of things, I want you to put yourself in her shoes. You know, you have clientele. We're putting the pieces together. She's built her Hell Yes offer, which is a very signature Kelsey thing. And even though you've been alive out in the world for 2 whole months, I feel like you've been iterating this Hell Yes
Mhm,
offer for a while. So we can check that box. That's like always my first question. I can confirm, and as a client, I can also confirm it's a Hell Yes offer.
mhm,
So done and done. I think another thing to acknowledge, Becky knows her ideal person
mhm,
almost in a freaky way. We joke about it, but as she was working on my brand, Becky talked about how you were like a method actor. Is that the
yeah,
verbiage you used? Could you
yeah.
explain like that part of it a little bit? Like how did you identify, so before someone hires you, how do you identify who your ideal people were, and like how deep do you go in that process?
I guess it's people that I just vibe with, like if I'm out at happy hour and I meet a friend, I'm naturally going to gravitate toward the people who are kind of running their own thing. Either they're leaders in a company, managers, they own their own business. Those are the people that I usually kind of click with. I'm not seeking them out necessarily, but we find each other. And then we're just like, da, 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 da. And so that type of person I already knew was like my person. And I have built a couple of iterations of this business over the last few years. And I've had some pretty unfortunate client situations because I was just kind of trying to do it like designers do and not like I do. Right.
Yeah.
And so I was finding clients that a designer would say, "Oh, that's a great client," and they were kind of disasters, and I knew I didn't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hell Yes offer, check. Ideal client, yes. Even I think it's important for every entrepreneur to experience a non Hell
Oh
Yes
yeah.
client
Mhm,
experience. That teaches us so much. And I think those two things are important to know. And we know those things. So if you were to communicate to someone listening to this episode, how would you articulate like your current business problem that you're working through, or what's top of mind coming into this hot seat?
well,
Where
here's
do
the
we
thing.
begin?
Yeah, I know. So okay, so I opened 2 months ago,
Yeah.
had a wait list, and then I had this like little pocket where a a few of the big projects that I had started with were kind of coming to a close, and I was looking at what was coming next, and I didn't really have anything necessarily closed. And I started to be like, how do I, but what do I do? Like I opened. And so I should just be like, I told people that I'm here. So like what do I do? Like what do I even do?
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, "Well, who's on your leads list?" I think you asked me something like that. And I said, "Yeah, exactly. Who is on what leads list? What is that?" I had no idea. Like, and it seems so silly to me because I have been a part of um like a commercial kind of triangle in all these different companies that I've worked in, where I'm working very closely with like a sales function or like an operational function. And I think it was sort of like, when people say, "Oh, I eat at restaurants all the time," I could totally open a restaurant. I think it was kind of like that. Like I just had close proximity and enough knowledge to be scary about sales. Like I can actually do a sales forecast, I can write an RFP. I thought that that was what it would take, but it's not that. It's lead generation specifically, like how to actively and intentionally speak to people about your business in a way that is You are marketing yourself and you are marketing your business. And I came across this podcast of these two girls, the sales girls, and they were talking about sales. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. I am not, I'm just sitting at home designing and I'm not doing that. And I need to learn how to do that.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, Summit Down people, we're talking about sales today. And I'm
Mm,
excited to talk about it because I think your history can be your best teacher, and past clients can give you the copy that you need. Because the problem is, Becky, is you have blind spots because you
yeah,
already live and breathe and believe in big brand energy because that is the world you live in. You forget what it's like to be unsure and what life was like before. And that gap is what we have to fill for people. And then to add fuel to the fire, your ideal person doesn't know they need you. We've
hmm
talked about this before.
hmm
So it's not as simple as like, hey, I'm Becky. I meet you at a networking thing, close the deal. You
hmm
have kind of like a multi phased approach where you have to get them to a place of identifying a need and then recognizing that what you have to offer solves that need for them. So there's like an educational component to your sales strategy that is like a must.
hmm
And go
to
ahead.
add even more fuel to the fire,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to describe actually what I do because
Yeah.
I'm an interior designer, visual merchandiser by trade. I do interior design, but I'm not like the interior designer you think of when you think of one. I do graphic design, but I'm not like the graphic designer that you think of when you think of one. I'm a brand experience designer. I'm not the brand identity designer that you think of when you think of one. How I approach this is also very difficult to explain. So yeah, I mean, I guess I've lost it in the messaging there.
I'm laughing because I relate immensely. So let's have you coach me for a hot sec on this.
Oh yeah.
If if you were to run into a girlfriend who has a business, who's maybe one of our ideal clients that you mapped out so beautifully for me,
Mhm.
how would you pitch me as a business coach to them?
Hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. So I would say, listen, I hear what you're talking about, and I'm definitely going to want to introduce you to my friend Kelsey. She's a business coach, but she's like a business coach you've not really like worked with before. She's super cool. I would definitely start with that, and then I would say that you're savvy, that you have like you're able to like target exactly what an issue is and then just get right to that issue. And also what I really appreciate is that you have this emotional intelligence to know when to kind of, like joke around and make light of the problems that a business owner is having. And then also when to just like go in and be like, hey, what is going on here? Knock that off. We've got to fix this. And that it's like a very kind of nurturing, but also um, kick in the ass. And I think that's what most of us business owners want. We want somebody to treat us with respect. Don't treat me like I'm an idiot. Like I know some things, but also, especially I think for people like you and I who have an ideal client that's kind of like you and I, there aren't a lot of people that stand up to us, to be honest, and that like they think we know it and they're maybe a little bit intimidated. And so there aren't a lot of people that stand up to us, and you will. So that's what I would tell them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for that plug. But I that exercise is important because you have proof of concept. You have people you've worked with in this capacity who they at one point made that decision. You sold them,
Yeah.
whether you realize that was intentionally happening or not. So if I were to give you like the first piece of homework, I would grab coffee, a little sliver of time on the calendar with each of those people, maybe even send a questionnaire to them and
Mm,
say, "Hey, what was it? What did I say? What was that pain point? What was that thing you needed that made you think Becky can solve this for me? Like what was that moment?" And help use their words to tell this story. Because when it
yeah.
comes to sales, we get in our own way and we already believe, we're already believers. That's really hard to make that conversation convert because we already believe in the thing. That's our reality. And the
Yeah.
work that you and I do, people come to us and they want a band-aid solution, but you and I both perform open heart surgery in the businesses that we run. There's a lot to it. And so as we're listening in those conversations, we have to be able to discern like someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm really struggling with social media."
Mhm,
I on paper, if you were to meet me, social
mhm,
media is not a pain point where I'm like, I could have a solution for that. But usually I know I can dig deeper. Oh, you have a team of people. oh, you're struggling because your brand has grown beyond you. There's certain indicators where I can solve for that. And the pain point isn't the social media. It's usually something much bigger. So I think for you, it's just that awareness of like what are they saying to you versus what do we know that they really need, and just what is that gap, and that's so delicate to balance. But that's once we've already met and we're already vibing and we're at that point, because I know you, and I don't think your issue is like getting interest.
Mm.
I mean, we're in a group chat together with the networking group that I run, and people are loving Bex. They are can't wait,
I
send link.
love them. I love
I
them.
yes, but like people, there's interest, there's excitement. The know and like is there. Okay, but now what? And so
Yeah,
that's where we
yeah.
need to hyper focus in. And I think it's understanding their pain points. And some of them you may not be the solution for right now, and that's okay. But it's being able to decipher through what they're saying, but like you know how we say things, but you listen, you're like, but you're actually saying this. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hear you nodding your head, but you don't mean that. Like what's going on? Those are the people we have to like be able to break through. And honestly, I think for a service like you provide, I think it closes on a call. I think it has to be some sort of call, some sort of coffee chat that really creates some level of ultimatum. Because at the end of the day, I think I've said this in a Voxer to you, but I've said this to other clients too. It's like when you say yes to support, whether it's a coach or a photographer or what Becky does with the branding, it's like it's a big decision and there's some onus on you as the client to provide things for them. And so they have their own kind of psychological stuff happening even after they decide of like, "Ooh, I need to get my stuff together, make sure I can deliver so Becky can help I can help Becky help me."
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just some Kelsey word vomit for you real quickly.
Well, you know, and I'm thinking two things. Number one, I've been single for a long time, Kelsey, and I am one of those girls that like if I get hit on, it goes right over my head. I've absolutely no idea that it happened. So I think that there's just a little bit of that, like when a
Yeah.
chemistry kind of happens, that I'm just like, well like, oh yeah, it was nice talking to them. It doesn't that one step from like they are literally looking at me expressing interest to me thinking, "Oh, that's nice." There's that's where the gap is, right? And that there's not like this, I have to fix that where it's like where I say, now it's my turn. You know, I see the interest, I hear the interest. Now I need to pull that out a little bit. Like let's talk about that a little bit, and share that interest. So there's that little piece of it. But the other thing that I'm thinking is that I did this energy thing that you're talking about. I did just have this recently. I was sharing with you about Instagram. I was just kind of like trying to fit into, again, kind of what brand designers do on Instagram. And I realized that I was like talking about information and not transformation. And that, who cares? Like, who cares? Do you my one of my things in my taglines in my business is built for busy. I'm built for busy business owners, and I am a busy business owner. I have been for years. I know exactly what it's like. Busy business owners do not want to learn what brand attributes are. They don't give a they don't. They want to know that they're going to make more money, have more time, have more freedom, have more fulfillment, have more hope, have more motivation. That's what they want to know. And so that too is, I think, where I'm learning to like, when I am in a conversation with someone, that's kind of how it won't feel like salesy. You know how people get a little ick on salesy. If I was like, oh, well, then let me tell you about my offer. I'm so glad we met. And then started, they would glaze over. The interest that they showed at the beginning of the conversation would probably just like, no, okay, it's not and they would lose it. And so it's to like stay in on that transformation moment until I can see and feel that hell yes for them.
Yes. And I think you said it, and I was going to ask you if you didn't say it, but the whole idea of built for busy, you have to think about how that person behaves and how
Yeah.
they want to be sold to. And if they said, hey, let's chat, I'd love to talk, that person wants you to follow up and make it happen.
Yeah.
If that door is open that way, hey, you've been on my mind. I've been thinking about you. Boom. Great. Let's schedule something on the calendar. Hey, are you going to Empower? How about we touch base after? Like,
Yeah.
how can you condense time? Because busy wants efficiency,
Yeah.
they want easy. And then right out of the gate, when I'm on that sales call, I just say, hey, I know this is probably overwhelming and there's a lot of different facets to branding, and you probably don't even know what I do fully, but I just want you to know right off the bat, I make this as easy as possible to fit into your busy life because I get it, and that's exactly why I've built it the way that I have. And then you almost like you like disarm them, and I think that's so important because remember, they don't know what they need. They think, what do people say to you when people are talking to you? They meet you on the street, they're at networking, they're DMing you. What do they think they need from you? A logo,
Yeah, no,
Canva templates.
they usually will just say like, we need to talk, we need to talk. And you can kind of see this, I'm desperate for help.
Yeah.
You know, like you can kind of see that and hear it. And it usually is something kind of connected with the exterior design. So they've seen work that I've done, and you know, they're complimenting it, and they want their space to look like that. And that will come, but honestly, not until like later, because all of my clients, even the interior design clients, have to start with branding for me. And again, I mean, I think even with you, like how I approach branding and what I mean by it is so much deeper and more meaningful and transformative than really anything that you've had an experience with. And so, yeah, I mean, I want to actually have multiple conversations leading up to a closing conversation, because, you know, I want them to really see it for themselves. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I want
Yeah.
to help convince them like, you're worth this, your business is worth this. I say all the time on social media, you are important, what you're doing is important. I always say, I trust me, I trust you, I trust the universe, all this is going to work out.
Yeah.
We're going to, you know, we're going to get through this together. And what you're doing is so important. You have to keep doing it. I want to help you thrive.
Right. And I think you just have to also remember that this is a new muscle for that you've built too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like step one is just the awareness. And I've said it on podcast episodes too. Like I didn't realize I was in sales until I think I said like a year and a half, 2 years ago, which is embarrassing. I had a whole nother business before this business, and I never thought of myself as a salesperson.
Yeah.
But we are. If you're listening to this episode and you're a business owner, you are in sales. And so I think what can be really beneficial is just owning that, like, hey, this is a new thing for me. And no wonder I'm going to default mode back to the things I feel confident in and I'm good at doing because that feels safe and comfortable, and that feels productive. I'm getting something done. But if you don't have enough in the pipeline, also I would pause and define what enough means. So we're not just grabbing at straws. We're clear on enough. 2 clients, one every month, onboarding every 3 weeks, whatever we define that to be. But if you're not having that consistent flow, the one thing you should be doing is going for no, pitching until you
Yeah.
get a no.
Sure. Sure. Yep. Well, you know, and here's the problem is that I'm an even tougher case than that, because I thought I did know. I knew I was in sales.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been the one listening to this podcast going, "Yep, that's right. That's right. You are. You're a business owner. You're in sales." But it was when I looked at my behaviors,
Yeah.
were any of my behaviors and actions and tactics selling tactics,
Yeah.
promotional tactics. And they weren't. It was just me going to, you know, the same rooms that a lot of people are in, and you know, just saying hi, just showing up in a room, right? But like identifying, talk, hey, pulling people over, hey, I want to talk to you. No, wasn't doing any calling people, nothing. One DMing people, nothing. None of the behaviors that you need to do. So then I had to unlearn and disassemble my own ego in order to accept that actually it's not even that, you know, oh, I know it, I'm just not doing it. I just skipped over that part of my ego and was like, yeah, Becky, you don't know how to do this. You've been telling yourself you know how to do this for years and you don't know how to do it. You don't.
And I there's so many parts to it though. Like you could have been a part of that equation for a long time and just not in the full way that you need to be for
Yeah.
your business right
Yeah.
now. Like both of those can be true.
Yeah.
But I think the big piece is it's that conversion piece specifically. So when you
Mhm.
think of like the whole process, like I think that is your massive area of opportunity right now. And how you know it's working is you get people committed.
Mhm.
A verbal someday yes is not the same as a paid deposit yes. And so that is my target. That is my metric I'm measuring. And then the other piece of it is going into it equipped with potential objections that you're going to get,
Mm,
right?
mm.
Because, oh, now is not a good time. Becky, is it ever an ideal perfect time to have your branding brain just completely broken and then reassembled for you?
Every day is the perfect day for that.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this is the thing is like,
Yeah.
actually, I want it to not be perfect. I
Yeah.
need room for like, what could it be? If you've already got things, 100% figured out and locked in, then I'm just a mouse jockey. You know what I mean? I'm just like delivering whatever you think you want. And it's not a co-creation of something. So I want it to be a little bit undefined.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then. Do you feel like the gap for you specifically, is it opening the door and having the conversation, or what does that conversation look like?
Number one, I really do think that it is just recognizing genuine interest
Yeah.
when people are saying, I would love to work with you. I want to talk to you. Like, even if it's not that straightforward, because
Yeah.
not everybody uses those words exactly, but they will come around and just kind of hang in a conversation with you. And so it's to be able to read and acknowledge interest first and foremost, and then to have that, a kind of, I guess, beautiful way of inviting some curiosity about that person's business, and really starting to ask them about themselves and their business, and what are they working on, what are they excited about, what's next for them. um, Branding solves a lot of problems, and that is definitely what I'm here to do. But I'm not necessarily looking for businesses that are like broken, right? I'm actually looking for people who they've kind of gotten to a spot in their business that they're outgrown it a little bit, and they believe maybe that there's something more. There's a next step. They want to scale. They want to pivot. They want to open another location. They want to do something, and they're just right on that verge of like, should I? Like, I'm so scared. Should I? And then, God, if I did, all this stuff would have to be changed and fixed. And I don't know if I have it in me. That's where I come in. I'm going to do the heavy lifting and, get that brand up to the level of your goals. So to invite that conversation, to ask them about, what's next for you? What are you excited about? What do you think, what are you scared to tell anybody you want to do? Like those kinds of questions, and right then and there, you know what I mean? Like organically and right then and there, instead of just like, oh, that was nice, and I'll hopefully they call.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know if you realized you kind of solved some of this for yourself just there, but you just broke down two very different conversations that are part of the equation. And I think even just mentally separating the two is worthwhile. To me, one of them is just a basic, you just need them to know what you do,
Yeah,
period. And you also, if they can start to recognize what their problems are in business, that will then equip you to have a sales conversation. And
yeah,
those are two different ones. And like being cool with that, because even if someone, if you talk to someone and you have that initial conversation and they're not a fit for your current offering, but they understand what you do and they can articulate you, that's worth your time right now.
yeah,
And so I think just letting go of that expectation of I have to convert them on that specific meeting type
yeah.
is just like giving yourself the permission, like, okay, I'm just going to go for people to actually understand what I do properly.
Mm, mm,
And then from there, if I'm hearing certain keywords like launch, retreat,
mhm,
podcast, like there's certain offers that the right fit person is going to be exploring to add to their business,
mhm.
that's great because guess what? Now they have urgency, they have a reason to hire you because
Yeah.
you can then have that follow up sales conversation, which is structured very differently. Hey, I heard you talk over here about launching a podcast. I'd love to hear more about it. Tell me about it. How's coaching going? Oh my gosh, I'm so busy, blah, blah, blah. Just want to get my word out there versus, oh, I want to start the podcast. Coaching's kind of slow. I have time right now. I'm not going to want to work with that person.
Mhm.
And having that conversation structured differently, it's going to help you like solve for them because at a certain point there has to be a level of urgency,
Yeah.
period. And there's, oh, like we said at the beginning, there's always a wrong time. It never feels like the right time. However, if someone's launching something new and they're already successful and they're relying on that success for the new thing, that person is motivated to change some stuff and get some stuff in order, and you are the perfect solution for that. So that's what I'm listening to in that second type of conversation.
I think I love that. And I love the idea of just exploring people's dreams with them in a conversation.
Yeah.
And then I hear what you're saying about, like, let's make sure they understand what I do. But to me, it's even, I want them to just understand what a well-established brand can do.
Yeah.
Whether you take it from me or not,
Sure. Yeah.
here's what a well-established brand can do to your life.
Right.
And how it can help you make decisions. And I can talk about that all freaking day for sure. Um, my sister who owns Soleil and Company, she's an Aquarius. I'm a Capricorn, and so we always tell people she has her head in the clouds, and I put her feet on the ground. And I really do feel like that's part of this conversation, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
there is a sense of urgency around dreams, but before that sense of urgency, there's a long period of looking at the dream and turning away from it. You're scared of it. You're afraid of that dream.
Yeah.
You're afraid you don't have the money. You're afraid you don't have the skills. You're afraid you don't have the fan base. You're afraid of that dream for a really long time.
Right.
And so I don't mind coming into that dream conversation at any point, even
Right.
if you're still scared and think you can't do it. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can. Watch me. We'll figure it out. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I think that I think that there is so much opportunity for you to help people like walk through that journey. And again, even if they don't hire you, even if they just walk away with more clarity and information, you've done your job. Like
Yeah.
you've lived your purpose out loud. And I think that conversion piece, it can't happen unless that other stuff has already happened. I
Yeah.
was on a sales call the other day with a photographer who we know, and I mean, it was technically a sales call, but to me, I'm just like ready to get shit done. Like
Mm.
I got on the call and I was like, I'm working with you. I don't care how much it costs. I don't need to know if I get 50 photos or 27. Like that's not
Yeah.
what this is about. Like I'm already in, just tell me the next steps. The whole thing was wham bam, thank you ma'am, done so fast. And she was like, that was so easy. I'm like, yes, it should be that easy. But guess what? I was only able to come to that place because I hired Becky and I was clear on my branding. I was clear on how I'm going to use it and leverage it and everything. And when I hired Becky, it took me a while to say, hey, I want to work together and commit, even though I knew her personally. So you have to remember you're built for a busy person. What you're solving for them is that future clarity where their yeses will be stronger and their nos will be quicker, but like
Mhm.
they don't have that muscle yet. And
Mhm.
so you knowing that, you have to kind of like break up your sales conversation into these kind of bite-sized pieces. Here's a food analogy. It's like a multi-course meal. Like
Yeah.
I don't think you're just a one and done kind of girl. And I think that's
Totally agree with that.
acknowledging that will just take the heavy lifting off of this really long, ridiculous conversation into knowing there's specific pieces that have to happen that then put together this story of like, okay, now let's like have the conversation. And I think you go into it like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that, and I think that was when I've been having this reflection these last couple of weeks that, like, you got to start doing things differently. One
Yeah.
of them was just get in front of people, not even like you said, like my first action list, I guess, or items on my action list. It wasn't start DMing people or, get cold call people. It was just start to talk to people, like just get out there and talk and get to know people, because I think I know you're right. It is there's a little launch period, there's a little ramp up. And again, it isn't about my service per se, but people do not go from I am not transforming to sign on the dotted line, make me transform tomorrow. That's not how that works. Transformation requires some confidence and belief and trust, and like it requires a lot. And so they need the hype. They need the hype from me and from
Yeah.
whoever,
Yeah.
to believe that they're ready for it.
Yeah. At a certain level, they have to have their shit together.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
scary because
yeah,
I can say, hey, my branding's outdated. I know I need it. It needs a refresh. Becky and I have a conversation, and then it turns into like, okay, let's do this thing. Are we committing? Then all of a sudden the mirror is on me. And so
yeah.
I would just call out all of that in the call. And this on the hot seat side of things is like I think there's a few things going on, but I think one thing for sure is identifying what pain points have to be hit in that sales conversation.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
would just step in front of the bus or whatever, like, here's what you're going to say. You're going to say, I don't have time. Well, here's what I have to say about time. Here's what you're going
Mhm.
to say. You're going to say, this is expensive and I'm not sure what I'm going to get. Here's what I
Mhm.
have to say about that. I would call out every reason someone says no in that call from the get go and
Mhm.
then go, well, how would it feel if like this is a big decision. I get it. Like I don't play light here. I understand it's a financial commitment, it's emotional. Like me heavy lifting your brand for you, that's a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
What if we work together, we do this thing on the other side of this is laser focus, clarity, confidence, space, capacity to explore all those someday things that have been collected, like all the transformation stuff we already know and can regurgitate. But like I would call out the reasons they might say no from
Yeah.
the get-go and just like work your way through that on the call. And
Yeah.
then that will turn it into like, oh, what do you think? Let's chat, to like a very intentional conversation. And even that little shift, I think, would be game changing for you.
Well, do you know what I love about that is that it makes me I one of my house rules, I have these Haybeck's house rules, and one of them is no elephants in the room. Let's just talk about it. Like
Yes.
why is everybody
Yeah.
so freaking afraid of talking about things? Like let's just talk about it. And so because I'm going to have this ramp period and this very like um listening and encouraging ramp up, right?
Yep.
I'm going to have to be the one that changes the tone and says, okay,
Yes.
I see it, I feel it, you're ready. You and I are going to have coffee tomorrow and we are going to talk about working together. We're going to come to a decision. And I have to like I have to lead the tone on that and say this next conversation that we're having is not this, you know, cry on my shoulder conversation. It's not. We're
You have to
going
get
to work
yourself out of the
together.
friend zone.
Yep, we're going to work together and you're
Yeah.
just going to tell me when.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you're right. You're totally right. Yeah.
And I think too that I imagine, I mean, this is me just guessing, but I imagine in the design process, if you and I like initially vibe and then month, 2 month, 3 months goes by and we don't work together, it's almost like we have to start over because like there's a certain level of iteration that happens. And
Mhm.
if I'm not on your radar anymore, we haven't committed, it's almost like you need a refresh of that. So think of it from setting you up for success. Like it doesn't benefit you in your process to like have some conversations now in May as we're recording this and then have a follow up in December with no time in between, you
Right,
know?
right.
And so even though on the calendar and business wise you technically have capacity, is not simply like what clients are on the books. Capacity is like the mental capacity. There's other factors too. And we have to shorten that cycle for people. If they don't know it's an option, they don't know it's an option. When I tell people I don't have room for you until September now, that's the truth. Right now, I don't have room. But if you're in a season where you have to be the one to create those parameters, that's hard and it comes from a place of confidence. But that's the best thing you can do. And it's crazy because people will just jump on the opportunity and say, like, oh, are you sure you can't fit me in? Okay, let's just do it. What can we do? And then if you do have the ability to fit them in, you fit them in. And if you don't, you don't. And you say, hey, put that deposit down. We'll reconnect then. I just think
Yeah.
like you have to take charge of your lead flow. I think in
Yeah.
conclusion, to sum it up, yeah. We got to get
Yeah.
out of the friend zone and we got to like control that like faucet that you're turning on and off in your business.
I need to talk to your husband, Matt, and find out how he did it. I need to get his tactics and say, how did you get her out of the friend zone, Matt? I mean, I do.
Oh man, that's a
Anyway,
great story.
yes, yes, you are totally right about that. And that also makes me think this is great. Again, I need to be controlling like what that time frame is from
Yeah.
when we start to, because you're right. I do know that once it gets past a certain point, we've lost something. And but I'll tell you what it is. You mentioned that I'm very, very clear about my ideal client, and I am. And one of those things is my ideal client has to be a decisive person. And if you can go 6 or 9 months and think that you want a transformation and wait that long and know that I'm right here in front of you and could
Yeah.
do it, um, then you're not a decisive person. And the reason why and it doesn't mean you're not a decisive person ever. It just means right now you're not. And the reason why is that once I hand over this brand to you, you're not going to know what to do with it. You're going to go in a tailspin. It's going to sit on a shelf. You're going to start hating yourself. You're going to hate the money that you spent. And I'm not going to do that to anybody. I'm just not.
Yep.
I'm just not.
You nailed it. I think you just need to take all the principles and philosophies of sales and tailor it super specifically to this ideal person for
Yeah.
you, Becky. And you
Yeah.
know who they are. You
Yep.
can picture them. And
Yep.
so think of how they would want to be sold to.
Mhm.
And there's a little bit of call out that has to happen. And the right person's going to respond well to that. And then the people, the wishy washies will see themselves out and they're not a fit anyways. And that's going to be to your benefit.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
lead tracker, here's what I'm going to say about a lead tracker: a simple place to dump out your brain. It could just be an Excel spreadsheet, it can be Airtable, it doesn't matter what it looks like, but just even just a simple place of like, these are kind of the people on my radar right now. Here's last time I touched base with them, any notes that help me in that. And then I'm probably doing 1, 2, maybe max 3 reach outs. And if we don't get some kind of call or coffee chat on the calendar, hey, thank you so much. If you ever need services in the future, you know where to find me. But I'm just letting you know, like, I'm fully taking you off my radar for this right now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch this podcast and I'm going to take notes and I'm going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, that was good.
Yeah. I think we just get in our own way. And the irony is, what you provide for people would actually make this process easier for them. You're just the catalyst in that for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a well established, and the thing that I am really proud of, right, is that in the past, like I said, right away, I got to the ego stuff out of the way. Forget it. I'm not going to play with that. In the past, I would have just pushed this aside. But my brand, I am having the same brand experience that I designed for you. The brand that I designed for you is based on the brand that I designed for me. It's the exact same methodology. And so that brand has answered questions for me and has motivated me to get it, make it happen. And so it's helping me when problems like this show up,
Yeah.
address them now. Like, what is this? Get to the root of it, get some help and get it fixed and get it out of the way.
Right.
And that is so freaking refreshing because business owners know they can spin on a problem forever, forever. And a
Yes.
well-established brand will not let you do that.
Ooh.
It's got things to do.
And right now, here's where we're gonna end it. Right now, you're allowing them to spin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's it. You just need to you literally need to say, like, hey, are we doing this or not?
Yeah, like, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. It literally, that's all. You probably, I can think, knowing you, I can think of at least 5. I'm sure there's more than that. But list of people where you've had those like friend
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
What do you think? Here's what I want to do. I
Yeah.
think your next follow up to all of those people, Kels, I love you. You've talked about this retreat for a year. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Are we doing this thing or not?
Right.
And then if they say, I can't right now, da da da, hey, I gotta release you. You're still connected, you know where to find me, but I'm gonna release you. And that will motivate the right person. And there you go.
Yeah. 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 I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
It's
I
never
just want
easy.
to help
Sales aren't
people and
easy.
change their lives. I just want to
Yeah.
help.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all just a reflection on them and you providing the right time and opportunity for them to leverage it. But there is an ownness on them, and that's where we kind of have to hold them to some level of deadline. Yeah. Hey, I'm
How
holding this spot for 2 days. Hey, this link expires in a week, like some kind of something. Yeah.
I mean, like in a nutshell, how did your brand transformation transform you?
Well, if you're watching this, I look bomb AF because I got my hair done. It's different. I
It's
wanted more
so
spice.
cute.
There's more layers. It's mulletish. I'm wearing a lip color for the first time in I don't even know how long. I'm wearing the signature jacket. All of this fits into my brand. And I even said in my group earlier today that I'm getting rid of the things that aren't a hell yes because I
Mhm.
want to like diminish the decision fatigue that can happen as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And I feel like I have that in my business and now it's spilling over into my life. Even like clothes, makeup, thing, those things where you're like, should I wear it? Should I not? I don't
Mm,
really like how it fits, but anything I'm wishy-washy on, gone, gone,
mm,
gone, gone.
mm.
And it started with the brand stuff and it's spilled into other things. And I will say this, like at the end of the day, I'm also here to help people. I want to help people.
Mhm.
And working with Becky helped me get clear on not everyone wants the help. And I'm
Yeah.
not here to save everyone. I'm here to stir some shit up, people. And I know Becky has the same energy too. And that's why I think it's important to have this conversation. And I'm just glad we got to pour into you a little bit, but truthfully, it's completely changed my life. And now I'm just excited. I
Mm.
will also say when as brand stuff was coming, I was putting in weekend days to execute on it. That's how excited I was. So
I know. I love that. I love
there you
that.
go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's
thank
exactly what I
you.
hope to happen. No, Kelsey, this was very helpful.
Good,
It
good.
really was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you're like a little bit overwhelmed because of all of the like just vibes that we have going, but also just strategy, I just want to remind you of one simple thing. You're in sales
Mhm.
and either you're not getting in front of enough people. If that's the issue, get in front of more rooms and just get that initial awareness. That's you can tell that's working when you're getting the comments, the DMs. Oh, I love what you're saying. Oh, that really resonated deeply. Thank you for sharing. Loved
Mhm.
what you're doing. It's cute hat, like all those things. If that's problem number one, get in more rooms and measure it through that kind of success. And then if you're not converting them, if you're hanging out in that friend zone, have those conversations like I just equipped Becky with, where you're calling out the potential reasons they may say no and you're creating some sense of urgency for them to shit or get off the pot.
Yep. Yep.
So thank you so much, Becky. This was awesome.
Thank you, Kelsey.
I want the people to follow you for so
Yeah.
many reasons, but where's the best place for people to connect and hold you accountable too? Because I think that'll be kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. If you slide into my DMs yelling at me about salespeople, that's fine. You can. Because you're right. Accountability is important.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm on Instagram, heybex.creativehouse. And yeah, I mean, that's probably the best place to find me.
perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. And for those listening, thank you for being here. So excited to continue this revolution with you. Bye.